Welcome back to A Plus Parents, everyone. And we have a special student with us today. You know, every February, we have something we call Student Appreciation Month, and we ask students to send us videos about what they love about our program. And our guest today, her name is Eva Eckhart. And Eva sent in this video, and she's sitting on a tractor, and she's talking to us about all the things that she's discovered this year of how she uses math on the farm. And I watched the video, and first of all, the fact that here she is, and she's a teenager, and then she's plopped up on this big old tractor, and it was super cool to watch. So way above my pay grade when it comes to equipment like that. That's just way too big. So, but super, super cool. So Eva is a fifth generation farm kid. So we'll have to have her tell us what that means. But she's a first generation homeschooler. She's the oldest of four. She has three younger siblings who are all girls. So let's go, mom and dad, four girls in the house, right? Ready to go. And she likes to read, and she likes arts and crafts. So really cool. We're going to get to find out a little bit about her. She's been homeschooling since she was in the second grade, and now she's in the eighth grade. And, one of my favorite things about watching her video was she actually said, oh my gosh, I finally get to see how this stuff we do in math actually applies, and we're using it in farming. And I thought, well, how great is that? Because, what students say, the number one question, I don't know, Eva, do you know the number one question that young people ask me?
How am I ever going to use this in life?
That's it. That's the one, right? Now, sometimes they say in real life, like, when do I use this in real life? And I think that's the funniest question, because I'm like, wait a minute. If that you're saying, when am I going to use this in real life? Then what life are you living in? Are you living in a pretend one when you're doing school? Because that doesn't seem right. So we say, how do we use this in life outside of a math class? And you got to discover that this year. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to have you share a little bit about it. But first of all, thank you for making your day work, and thanks for taking time out of your busy day. You're in the Pacific Northwest up in Washington State. So just super excited to have you here, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is really cool. So I got a chance to, as I was looking at some of the videos, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was such a cool video. I was like, we want to have you come be a guest on here. So let's start with this. So you're an eighth grader. How old are you as an eighth grader?
I am 14 years old.
Okay, that's so cool. And then how about your sisters? How old are your different sisters?
I have an 11-year-old sister, a 9-year-old sister, and then a 4-year-old sister.
Oh my gosh. And are you like the nice big sister?
Sometimes. Depends on
Sometimes.
the day.
That's awesome. And everybody's doing homeschooling now.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. So you started in second grade. So kind of tell us, so were you the first one to come home, and then it was like, and then mom was like, oh my gosh, this is cool, we're going to do this with everybody? Or kind of tell us, walk us through how it happened that you went from being a second grader, finishing up second grade, and then coming to homeschooling.
So I did kindergarten, first grade at our local public school. And there was some stuff that kind of turned us off. And my mom found homeschooling, and we tried it out right before I started second grade, and we really liked it. And we just haven't decided to go back to public school since then. And we've been having a lot of fun with it, discovering different curriculums.
Oh, that's so great. And it's funny because it's like we look and see, like for our homeschoolers, and it's funny because you spend about the same amount of time on your schoolwork as you would do in public school. Even, and then when people say, well, how long is that? It's about 3.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
But because you're not going to the school, and you don't have to drive there, you don't have to change classes, you don't have to go from one to another, go to lunch, all those things, like you get to kind of make your school day part of what you're doing at home, which is really, really awesome. So, all right. So how did a fifth generation farm kid, tell me, what does that mean?
So my great great grandpa bought some land in Washington like a long, long time ago. And it's been passed down from generation to generation. And my dad's an only kid, so he got all the land. And me and my sisters will help out on the farm. Not a ton. We're helping out more this year because we're all older. But it's really fun getting to ride on the tractor or ride in the combine, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tell me, what is a combine? Like, because I know, so I think it's that thing that it goes, the thing spins round and around and kind of grinds up the
Right.
beans. That's kind of what it does?
Yeah, so it cuts whatever crop you are harvesting, and it cuts the stems once they're dried, and then it removes the seed from the plant and puts it in the thing called the hopper. And then I honestly don't know what happens to the grain after that, because I see it get shipped off in our semis, but then I don't know what happens after that. So I want to look into that. But yeah.
That's really cool. That's really good. I didn't actually know it could actually pull the seeds out from the
Yeah.
plant itself. That's right. Okay, because that's funny because when you said hopper, I immediately got the picture of what a hopper would look like, and it's like, oh yeah, duh, of course that makes sense. That's where all the seeds go. Okay,
Yeah.
so when people talk about farming, right? I know because the first thing when somebody says, oh, I live on a farm. Well, I think about chickens and goats and horses and pigs and whatever, and I think about animals. But your farm is really working with grain. So tell us about some of the different grains that you guys harvest and that you grow on your farm.
So we harvest wheat, canola, barley, triticale. Um, I think the main two people know about are wheat and canola, because wheat is flour for pretty much every type of food I know of, most.
Right.
And there's canola oil that you use in cooking. Triticale and barley are more feeds for animals. So I don't think those are as well known, but they are really pretty to see growing. They look really soft. It's
Oh
really
my
fun.
gosh. Right. So you got to go through the whole thing. Like, there's a
Yeah.
time when the fight. Now, does everything do you have it set up so it's kind of like, well, do you replant? And so like you'll do barley for a season and then wheat for a season, or how does that work? Or did everything all at the same time?
So some plants, if you plant them for too many seasons in a row, it takes too much nutrients from the soil. So you will plant canola one year, and then we'll plant another crop the next year. And then we also do cover crops that they don't really make us any money, but they bring nutrients back into the soil so that we can grow a really good crop the next year. And yeah.
That's really cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. But and it makes a lot of sense too. So you're taking care of the soil at the same time and then rotating the crops as they go through. That's awesome. Okay. So, I know people are thinking, oh my gosh, here you are, you're on a farm and you're dealing with riding around these big machines, the tractors and combines. So, your typical day of a homeschooler, what does that look like for you? Because I'm guessing your typical day is probably not like most kids' typical day of homeschooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do my homeschool in the morning, which it helps out that my math class is really early where we live. And then I'll eat lunch, and then sometimes I'll go out and hang out with my dad, or me and my sisters will play outside, or I'll help my dad out. But yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, let's make a big shout out to Mrs. C because I know she teaches
Yeah,
the algebra class.
she's super awesome. I
She
love her.
is super awesome. That's awesome. So you look now and you think back, and it's kind of funny. Like when I think back to when I was in second grade, there's not a lot I remember, right? Because it was a long, long time ago. But if you think back 6 years ago, when you were getting ready, you were going to start second grade, but you came home instead, and you're like, okay, now we're going from grade 2, and now you're in eighth grade. What have you noticed that you really like about homeschooling?
I like homeschooling because I can take my schoolwork with me anywhere I go. And especially you guys, because I do it on our iPad. But um, I really like it because sometimes my dad will be like going somewhere 2 towns over to get parts or something. And we don't get to spend a lot of time with him during farming season. So I can just hop in the truck and I can be filling in my homework on the road. And then I can come home and check my work. And I really like that because it gives me time to spend with my dad.
That's awesome. And does he like math? Does he like to talk to you
He
about what you guys
does.
are doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He helps me out if I'm struggling. I'll be like, how does this work? He'll be like, oh, we do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
That's awesome. Let's go, Dad. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you're homeschooling, you're on the farm, you're doing your things. Do you ever find is there anything that you miss out that you feel like you might be missing out on because you are homeschooled?
I don't get to see my friends as often because at public school I would see them every day. But here I'm busy a lot of days and we're home and my other friends are homeschooled and they're busy. So I don't see them as often, but I still get to see them sometimes for like homeschool events.
Nice. That's cool. And here's I think what's great is that people that want to people that are your friends. I know if I lived where you were and I was your age, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to be friends. I want to come over and play on all the equipment, right? And kind of see what
Right.
you guys are doing. So well, so in speaking of that, why? Because I want to come play on the equipment and see what you guys do, right? So what does it look like for you? Like, how does homeschooling look inside of being in a farming lifestyle? Because you guys, 5 generations, you've been doing this for a long time and it's been handed down. So what does it look like, kind of like the farming lifestyle, which is probably a little different than a typical lifestyle for people?
So the farming lifestyle is definitely different and it helps out that we are homeschooled because my dad's busiest seasons are spring and summer, and then he has almost nothing to do in the winter. So a lot of our trips happen in the winter, but that's when a lot of school is usually happening if I was going to public school. So in the winter, because of homeschool, we can take a week off and go to, say, like Boise, or we also like going to Leavenworth, or we could take our homework with us and just do it in the couple hours that we're on the road. So that helps out a lot.
That's very cool. Okay, so so you mentioned Boise, Idaho, right? That's funny. My brother used to live in Boise, so that's why I know that area. I've been there a few
Yeah.
times. And then did you say Leavenworth?
Yeah.
Now, where is that? What is that? I
It's
think Leavenworth, and I think about, it sounds like Fort Leavenworth. Is that where is that the Army or Navy, or I guess the Army?
no,
No, okay. So tell me about that. What's Leavenworth?
it's a place like 4 hours away from us, something like that. But it's a little town. It's mostly built around tourists. It's an older town. There's a lot of hiking and walking and really cute shops. And the last time I was there, I was like 8, so I don't remember it super well. But me and my sisters really like it there, and we want to go there again sometime soon.
That's awesome. Okay, so
Yeah.
busy season is coming up right now for dad,
Yeah.
right? So when that's done, it's like, okay, road trip, let's go, guys, right? Well, that's good. When you look now, right, knowing that farming's been in your family, 5 generations, right? Do you look and think, is it something that you think you want to continue to do, or are you looking at other things? Like, what do you think you're up to in your own lifetime?
Right now, I'm looking into the medical field. And since there's 4 of us, our baby sister is showing a lot of interest in the farm. Like she likes going out on the tractors with our dad, or she has some toy tractors. So I might help out on the farm, which with whichever sister takes over the farm. But I'm mostly looking into the medical field.
That's very
Yeah.
cool. Well, that's awesome. So it's going to stay in the family at some point. And your youngest one, she's 4, right? Your
Yeah.
youngest one. So the 4-year-old is the one that she's kind of digging the farm life. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. And it'll let you go off and be able to do things that you're interested in medical field. And I can't help but imagine the things that you've done in learning how to care for the earth and learning how to take care of the soil and learning about, how how crops are done and the machinery and all the different things. All of that is going to be, I think, be super beneficial for you when you get into medicine, because there's so many things in medicine that really come from nature and how we can actually look at nature and have nature support us. So that's really awesome. Do you have a specialty that you like in medicine?
Physical therapy
Oh,
is
very
what I really
cool.
like. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. That is great. Okay, well, here we are, and you're finishing up pre-algebra this year. And if it's okay with you, what we'd love to do, Eva, is have you come back, and we'll come back again next year and look and see, like, what are you working on? How's the farm going? How's youngest sister doing? Is she still kind of
Yeah.
got that engagement going that she wants to, get into the farm life as well? And maybe tell us more about your other sisters and what they're up to, if that's okay with you. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah.
And by then you'll have been to Leavenworth, so you could tell us about how your trip was, right? Well, that's perfect. Okay. Well, Eva, and it's so funny because I have a friend named Eva, so I keep having to really practice your name. So Eva, so
Yeah.
one, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be able to come in and do the podcast with us and be able to share about what your life is like, because it's a very different life than most people live, and also to really acknowledge you and your family for being a homeschool family, because it makes a huge difference. So we're just so excited that you're part of the program, and thank you for being a Mr. D Math student. I'm so glad to hear that you actually you can answer the question now of when am I ever going to use this in that life outside of a math class? And now you can see it. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely. This has been great. And we will do it again. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in to A Plus Parents, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye, everyone.